Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of Everyday EDC. My name is Tyler, and today we are going to be reviewing the Black Stallion. Alright, so the Black Stallion from Offgrid Knives. Whew. Oh yeah. We all saw this on Metal Complex's channel probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe a little bit more, and we're like, what the heck is that? That thing is awesome. So I said the same thing, and it prompted me to make the move to Offgrid Knives and buy a couple of their blades, and here we are. And I'm glad I did. They have, for those of you that don't know me that well, they have become probably one of my most favorite brands this year. I would say they're tied with QSP. QSP always has a soft spot in my heart. The Copperhead just absolutely killed it. The Puffin killed it. The Penguin killed it. Even the Phoenix, which was kind of a more generic blade, was still okay. I mean, it's everything that the Nokomis, the Nokomis by QSP was pretty sweet. I'm getting off on a tangent, but I'm just saying that they have a really good lineup of knives. And I think the reason that we like these knives so much is that we're not flooded, or at least I do, is I'm not flooded with all these different models, right? The anticipation still builds up because they're not coming out with the model once a freaking week. So it's, yeah, I'm really liking Offgrid Knives. You guys are waiting on the review, aren't you? All right, let's get into it. So to start off with this, first and foremost, I didn't take notes on this one and the next one. I've used them pretty extensively and don't believe that I need notes to go through it. I want to give you guys a little bit more organic review. So to start off with this, these are FRN scales. I did not realize they're FRN. I should have by the texture, but I didn't realize it until I had to look it up and somebody made a mention of it. For some reason, they just feel so absolutely solid in hand. And they don't feel like the cheap FRN feel. I'm squeezing on them and nothing. No, they don't. They feel really, really good. So if you guys are like, I like that knife, but I hate FRN scales, get over it for this one. Just trust me on that. You cannot tell that these are FRN. So we have some T8 screws in the pivot and the body. There's six body screws. Cool thing is there's 6 body screws, which is a lot of hardware, and then you have 6 more for the pocket clip and for the pivot. That being said, every single screw on this is T8. So I would take that over half the amount of screws in T6, considerably knowing that I just tried to do a mod on my Feldspar and stripped out like every single bit that I have. Those motherfrickers, they like jacked up the Loctite. You guys like, review this freaking knife. So this is a FRN backspacer. We have a deep carry pocket clip, which is ambidextrous and recessed into the liners, which is really nice. There's a lanyard hole right here, so you could put any of your lanyard needs. The weird thing about the pocket clip is it has 3 screws. I don't know if that's entirely necessary, but this is a larger knife. Ironically, they do it on their smaller knives too, so you're like, what? But whatever. There is a little bit of milling in the liners. Let's see if I got something that can show you guys. It's hard to show when I have a backspacer in there, because I like to go from the one side. Let's see here. You guys can kind of see. It's hard to see because it's all black on black. There you go. You can kind of see those little holes right there. There's a little bit of milling, but guys, it's not much. Like, they might as well have not done it. I would have taken the extra weight because this thing's a beefcake anyways. But I appreciate the effort. This is a liner lock, and it's locking up at right around 30%. Not a problem. The access to the liner, despite, it has a little bit of cutout right here, whereas the other side's just kind of flat. So you have decent access. The liner's has a little bit of scalloping going on this side, so it's nice and soft. No jimping on the liner, which I love it when they don't jimp on the liner locks. It makes it nice, almost like a soft touch. It makes it that much more fun to fidget with. And since we're looking here, we got a pretty good view. Let's bring out back my magnetic light that used to be part of my lighting setup here. As you can see, this is on bearings. I don't know if these are steel bearings. I believe they're ceramic, but they don't even list on the website. They just say they're on bearings. So yeah, take that for what you will. There's a little lock bar right there for the tang. The action on this guy. Stupid. So there's no back and forth, no up and down. And it just, but the blade, guys, this blade is just so heavy that it's naturally gonna be great, right? It's fun to fidget with though. It's a beast. So this blade, this is an aggressive as hell wharncliff with a swedge going down towards the tip to provide the tip with some sort of reinforcement. Now, for being such a large blade and it feeling so robust, and everything that I've felt from Offgrid knives to this point is so robust, I'm actually surprised at how small this tip gets. And we'll do a comparison with a couple knives and when we get out there. But it actually, I mean, granted, you have a lot of meat going there. It's not an acute angle. It's an obtuse angle going to it, so it's not going to break off as easy. But that tip is pretty fine. You have flat grind coming in from about, I would say, a little less than half the way down. So it's not going to be, if they were to create a full flat grind on this thing would be a just demolishing slicer because this blade face is so wide. It's not, but it's a good slicer, we'll put it that way, and it hasn't failed me yet. We have a little smiley here for the sharpening choil, and it's done all right. Yeah, we'll call that okay. The Offgrid Knives logo right here, and D2 right here. This is a black wash finish all around, so it's kind of their black on black on black on black on black, and that's what a lot of their models are. They're, if you guys check out the Offgrid Knives Badger, for example. Where's my Badger? Where is my Badger? I don't know where my Badger's at. Maybe I won't bring him out. There he is. It's almost like the little brother to this. It's got the same or similar texturing. This is more of a honeycomb. This is kind of like a squished honeycomb. This one has the stonewash blade, and this kind of does, but the stonewash finish came through clearer on the Badger. But just to compare these two, this is what I was talking about with the tip. The Badger's a much smaller knife and a much more robust tip. Alright. You guys are looking for the Stallion review, not anything else. I've been all off tangents and stuff. So the action's good. The blade is a great shape for working, and it has a lot of weight behind it, which is cool because when you're pushing, I feel like that weight behind it actually kind of helps you push through material. As I said, this is D2. They claim that their D2 is coming in at exactly 59 HRC. The only reason I even make a mention of it is because they don't give a range. They just tell you it's 59 HRC. So you kind of have to be like, wow, are you guys that specific with it? Because that would be awesome. 59 HRC is no joke. It's a pretty good one. It would be nice if it was up to 60, but I don't know the optimal heat treat range for D2 anyways. And going into that, not with this knife, I'll go into it with the next one, but I have seen a little bit of chippiness with the blades. And that's okay. It means they tried to overcook it. Anyways, this one didn't chip. So here's the texture. So the ergonomics. It's a very large handle, right? But I'm not going to hold the blade down here. That's weird. I'm going to hold it right here. So you definitely feel locked into a place that they picked for you, despite there being as much room as you want to use. I mean, look at that. I got a ton of the blade, like the handle sticking out. It's a very large knife. But I definitely feel like I'm locked into this position, like they didn't give me a choice, necessarily, just because of this almost Isham-esque, like, the way that the the flipper tab is hidden behind the scales, which is what they were going for. Isham likes to do that too. So you got your flipper tab here, flipper tab's gone. It's behind the scales. So the way they did that, it does make it comfortably locked in, but I definitely feel like they said, hey, you're going to lock this knife in right here. This is where you're going to like it. All right, I procrastinated long enough. Let's get on to some specs. So the overall length of this knife is coming in at about 8 1/3. We'll call it 8 1/3. It's between 1/4 and 1/2. The overall blade length is coming in at 3 1/2, and the overall cutting edge is coming in at almost 3 1/2 too. And that's some of the benefits that you get out of hiding that flipper tab. You actually get to bring that blade a little bit further, and you'll see that with a lot of Isham designs as well. Let's get into your weight. was hoping you guys could see it. Sometimes, depending on the way I have my lighting set up. This thing's a massive, chunky boy. This is 6.7 ounces. I haven't noticed a problem carrying it in jeans or anything, but then again, you guys know that I prefer the larger knives. I prefer slightly overbuilt knives, and it makes me feel like I have some substance in hand. If you don't like that, you're not going to like this guy. And once you see the size comparisons, you're going to see how large this knife truly is. It's a very, very large knife. When I first seen this, I was like, I have to have that. And I'm glad that I did, because it opened my eyes to some other off-grid knives. But full disclosure, this one isn't necessarily my favorite. Hey, lighting's going all over the freaking place. Relax. Relax. Easy. Alright. The blade stock thickness is coming in at relatively thin for how large this thing is. It's coming in at 125 thousandths. The behind the edge is coming in right at 20 thousandths. So it's a decent slicer. I made a mention that they would have came down further. It would have been ultra slicing. And I don't have a problem with it slicing. And I'm going to show that when I do the size comparisons. I have one that I really wanted to compare it to, especially considering the blade steel. So the overall thickness of this handle is coming in at almost half an inch, a little bit more, so not a big deal. This is where this thing's massive. This thing's coming in at almost 2 inches at full height. To put that into perspective, your Manix 2 is coming in at a 1.74, your PM3 is coming in at a 1.66, and your PM2 is coming in at a 1.60. This thing's larger in the body than all of them. Let's get you guys some size comparisons and not try to keep you here for 30 freaking minutes. Speaking of your Spydercos, here is your PM3. Obviously, it's not much longer than your PM3, right? Let's try to center this since we got the perfect angle going today. Let's make sure we get it centered right. So it's not much longer than your PM3. I'm sorry, yeah. But it's just massive. You're getting a ton more cutting edge. Yeah, I mean, it's just a massive knife. Now, it is just about as long as your Spyderco Shaman. Might be slightly longer than there. But again, let's fold this guy up. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you can already tell this thing's just a beast. Just an absolute beast. And that's what the blade would open. I'll show you the blade shut real quick. There's that. Like, insane. Absolutely insane. And if you guys can't see that because of the black on black, look at that. That's ridiculous. They're lined up as best as I can get them in the back. This thing's massive, guys. Both in profile and in weight. So if you like an extremely overbuilt knife, this thing's calling out to you. Alright. Let's go on to our next size comparisons here. We have our Rat Model 1 and our Rat Model 2. As you can see, it's just about the same length as the Rat Model 1 and much, much longer than your Rat Model 2. So I'm going to add one more size comparison than my normal. And for those of you new to the channel, the reason I do so many size comparisons is so you guys can see something that you've associated with in the past. Not everybody has a ton of knives laying around. Not everybody has the funds to do that. Not everybody wants to do that. This is so that it appeals to as many people as absolutely possible to see if you guys have seen something that you can associate this with. So as you can see, it's a little bit longer than the regular size feldspar. A lot bit longer than the normal size, or this mini feldspar. That new coloring job got me. I was going to do a video on this, and hilariously enough, totally off topic, I dropped the scale in there, and I'm like, oh shit. But I ended up washing it off with a little bit of acetone and got a really cool finish. So here is your Civivi Doris, my chunky little fat boy that I like, and your Civivi Brigand. Obviously much longer than both. I mean, there's not much more to say than that, right? The last size comparison I want to do is because this one is one that if you like this, you may like that. This is the 8015. As you can see, the 8015 is another overbuilt just beast of a knife, right? It's longer than the Black Stallion. It's not as quite thick, but size-wise, I think the weights are going to be even semi-similar. The reason I'm showing these two is I've actually used these two for the same specific task, and that was cutting some fiberboard stuff at work that's like a ceramic fiberboard mixture composite stuff. The S35 VN dulled very, very quickly. I even saw rolling in the edge, and I talked about that. I was like, man, I wonder if this is soft. I don't think it's soft anymore because this is D2, which should be, in theory, harder than S35. You should get slightly more cutting edge depending on the heat treat, right? This edge didn't roll at all. And I used it for maybe more than I used this. I'm not sure if it was more or less. It was probably about the same. This edge didn't roll, but it was pretty dull when I took it home, and I was like, all right, and I forgot that I did that, and it wasn't cutting, and I'm like, what the f***? And then I remembered, I was like, oh yeah. So, A, wanted to show this because if you like this, you'll probably like this. But B, I'm not going to retract that I think the S35 was soft on the 8015, but the material that I'm going through is definitely intense. Anyway, so what are my overall thoughts and quick recap? We have FRN scales with the honeycomb texture pattern, T8 screws, tons of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, even though I can't count, so that's 6, 9, and then we have the pivot, and then a captive pivot on the other side, which makes a total of 9, 10 pieces of hardware on this guy. There's a lot, but they're all T8. That's the benefit. The action on this guy, it's on bearings. It's real, real nice. I like it. The centering came up centered pretty darn good, even though it's hard to see with this lighting. Just so you guys know that I'm not crazy. Centering is pretty darn good. There is no back and forth. And none of the Offgrid knives that I've had come in ever lost their centering or had back and forth issues. The blade shape, awesome, stupid, awesome, great working blade shape. This wharncliff and this fat wharncliff really gives you some meat to just press through some material. D2, I don't have a problem with D2. For the price of this, I think this was coming in at like $72 plus or minus. You know, give me a 10% plus or minus range. I don't remember exactly. For that price, I'm not mad at it. You know, everything that you're getting from Offgrid, they're a little bit smaller of a company. They can't kick it out kind of like Civivi does, although ironically this is made by Bestech, and the Scorpion in their Elite series, I believe, is made by We. But they have really great manufacturers making these. So the fit and finish and the quality of these is absolutely fantastic. Now, where does that mean it's made? I think it's made in wherever Bestech's made, but it's designed in the U.S. We have liners that are, they're milled out a little bit, but like I said, this thing's so large, it's kind of like, just own it. Go over the 8-ounce mark, you might as well. Ergonomically, it's okay. I like it. It works, and you're locked in. I love how they hide the flipper tab, but I kind of get frustrated with how it just forces you in there. Like, you're almost pushed up against it while you're going. There's no hot spots. Deep carry pocket clip, which is ambidextrous, and the pocket clips are turning out to be really nice from Offgrid knives as well. So, is this knife worth it for the $70 plus or minus 10%? Of course. I think I love Offgrid knives. Everything that they've done up to this point has been my favorite. It's awesome. So, yes, it is definitely worth it. You're getting best tech quality at the $70 price range, and it's great. You're getting a D2 blade, which I think these things are heat treated pretty hard, pretty hot. So I think that hardness range is up there. And I'll get into that with another review when I recap some things. Overall, is this going to be a forever knife for me? Unfortunately, it is not. This will not be a forever knife. I can't, I have no use for this now that I've reviewed it. I love it. I think it's awesome. But I mean, I would rather carry my 8015. But also, the 8015 is an extra $100 more than this, so take that or leave it. That's not a downside to this. There's plenty of other Offgrid knives that probably are in my arsenal for quite some time. I've rambled on long enough, guys. This is the review of the Offgrid Knives Black Stallion. My name is Tyler. This has been Everyday EDC. You guys stay sharp, stay safe, and genuinely, genuinely, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching.